Aaron Nola has been the model of consistency throughout his career, and despite gripes about the home runs that he allows and some individual bad performances throughout his time with the Phillies, Nola has been an invaluable member of the Phillies rotation since 2018. Let's talk about it next on the PHOI Phillies podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the PHOI Phillies podcast. Tyler Zulli here, and today I thought I would give a little bit of love and praise to somebody who has a lot of conflicting conversations about him, and Aaron Nola. Let's talk about something in specific that I noticed this week. MLB Network has been going around Major League Baseball, going to different camps and having conversations with teams and doing team previews. And recently they got to the Phillies. And Chris Young from MLB Network caught up with Aaron Nola earlier this week as part of the network's tour throughout team spring trainings. And one of the things that stood out to me was that Nola really stressed that he uses spring training for command and control and not necessarily about a velo ramp up. He said that he takes some time off each offseason, and this year he took 2 months off from throwing so that he kind of uses his start of spring training to get back into what is deemed pitching shape. In his last start in spring training, Nola sat at about 90 to 91 with his fastball velocity. Throughout his career, he's averaged somewhere in the 92s. Now, his average fastball velocity has dipped in each of the past 4 seasons by about 0.2 miles per hour a season. Last year, he ranked 215th amongst qualified pitchers for average fastball velocity. He's also never ranked higher than 170th in that category over the last 4 seasons since his average fastball velocity did begin to dip back in 2021. And all of this is, well, it's by design. Nola understands what it takes for a starting pitcher to stretch out for the entirety of a season. And since 2019, he's made no less than, 12 starts, because in 2020, he made 12 of 60 during the COVID-shortened 2020 season. But over that same period of time, he's never made less than 32 starts in a full 162-game season. He's become the model of consistency that any team would strive for at the top of the rotation, let alone for what the Phillies have, kind of towards now the middle of their rotation. He made 32 of 162 starts last season, meaning he made 19.7% of the team's starts. You stretch that to 33, which he's done also, 20.3%. 34, he's done as well back in 2019, is nearly 21% of the starts. You get the point. You know he's going to take the ball every 5th day. He's twice led the National League in starts made since joining the Phillies in 2015 and becoming a full-time member of the rotation in 2017. But to further this point, he's led the league in innings pitched since 2018 with over 1,264 innings pitched. His 208 starts are the most by any pitcher, and he's one of just 3 pitchers to have made at least 200 starts over that 7-year span. The other 2, Patrick Corbin and Jose Barrios. As mentioned earlier this week, he and Zach Wheeler are first and second in innings pitched since Wheeler joined the Phillies back in 2022. And what that tells you is that it's a significant workload and takes a massive burden off of the team's bullpen. Now, Rotoballer's Eric Cross came up with this stat. Aaron Nola is just one of 5 pitchers with 170 innings or more and 170 strikeouts or more in each of the last 3 seasons. Corbin Burnes, Dylan Cease, Logan Gilbert, and Pablo Lopez are the other 4. And even within that group, Aaron Nola has logged more strikeouts in that 3-year stretch than everybody except Dylan Cease. And if we're being honest, to me, Cease's stuff is significantly better than Aaron Nola's. But inversely, Cease's command is far worse than Nola's. In that time, Dylan Cease has walked 222 hitters. That's the most across Major League Baseball. Aaron Nola ranks 53rd with 124. There are a handful of starters in between those two with as many as 30 less starts than Nola who have issued more walks over the last 3 years. That consistency, paired with a 1.137 career whip and a 2.3 walks per 9 inning pitch throughout the course of his career, I think has kind of earned Aaron Nola the benefit of the doubt on some calls that he gets as well. He's clearly respected by home plate umpires over his 10 seasons, and he's earned, listen, whether it's rightfully or not, the benefit of the doubt from what is still human umpiring. I bring this tweet up specifically from John Anderson on Twitter. John lays out that Nola has benefited last year more than any other pitcher from bad calls, specifically on strikeouts, with 39. John points out, statistically correct, that if you take those 39 strikeouts where he was helped away, you would see his strikeout rate drop from 24% to 19.2%. And John points out this is a particularly egregious one on Nolan Gorman, of the St. Louis Cardinals. John's correct. That this isn't close, right? This particular pitch to Nolan Gorman is like bad, bad. It was loopy. It was a backdoor curveball. JT Realmuto doesn't frame it. It really never had a chance of being a strike, but I think Nola gets the call, at least in part, due to the rapport that he's developed with umpires over the years. It definitely isn't entirely fair to opposition and opposing hitters, but until the automated strike zone is entirely implemented, pitchers will continue to take advantage of umpiring that shades in any particular direction. And that's exactly what Aaron Nola did on that pitch there, specifically to Nolan Gorman. Now, listen, it's not all sunshine for Aaron Nola, just like it's not for any pitcher in the league, really, for that matter. But because of his pinpoint command, a lot of times when Nola misses, he misses in the zone. And you can see here, this is Aaron Nola's heat map last season. Of the two pitches that he uses the most frequently, his knuckle curve and his four-seam fastball, he throws them about 60% of the time. You see the fastball heat map is up in the zone, but it is in the zone. The knuckle curve is down in the zone, but again, it is down in the zone. And with that being said, I think that Aaron Nola, when he misses, more times than not, he misses inside the zone. Partially why he gives up so many home runs, especially with the bases empty. I think he is oftentimes trying to get ahead, and you have that phrase, the get me over pitch, the get ahead pitch. Sometimes hitters are going to take advantage. You can also tell by his max exit velocities, often being in the bottom 10 percentile across baseball, that he does throw a lot of pitches over the plate, especially in the zone. But his average exit velocity and hard hit percentages have pretty routinely been within the top 40 or so of qualified pitchers. And in 2022, he ranked 8th in hard hit percentage. Listen, I'm not saying he's been lights out in limiting hard contact, but I would venture a guess that a bulk of that comes from the high number of home runs that he's allowed. The larger sample size does tell you that he's done a really solid job when he's hitting his spots. And because of all of these things, Nola was given a pretty hefty contract extension at the end of the 2023 season, which was met with more split conversation than I would have expected. But to me, it's another example of the cost of doing business with a free agent. Nola was going to get paid in the open market, and the Atlanta Braves were heavily rumored to be invested in signing Nola last season. The Phillies had to pay and give years to keep Aaron Nola in the organization. And B, he was paid because of his sheer consistency. You have your gripes with Aaron Nola. Sometimes they're fair. I think sometimes they're unwarranted. But one thing is for certain, Aaron Nola has been the model of consistency, not just for the Phillies, but across Major League Baseball in each of the last 5 seasons. I think the Phillies, especially with how good the rotation could be in 2025, will get excellence from Aaron Nola as he continues to slide his way towards the middle of the rotation, with guys like Christopher Sanchez ascending and Zach Wheeler, of course, being the ace at the top of the rotation. Aaron Nola could be in for a pretty solid year, due in part to all of these things, but also due in part to the fact that he has a lot of help around him in the rest of the rotation. I'm excited to see what Nola can bring this upcoming season, and I think the consistency continues even into his latter years in Major League Baseball.